What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Sports 2.0 Network. Welcome to the Colten Kahler Show. I am your host, Colten Kahler. Welcome in to the Colten Kahler Show, obviously. You can follow me on Twitter right there at @CKahler_4. Hunter Lucas, my good friend, is supposed to be joining us here tonight. We're having a little bit of connection issues, so we're trying to make things work. He's running back to his apartment in Nebraska, so hopefully we can get things working there on his side. But again, welcome into the Colten Kahler Show. And we'll get started tonight with a little MLB talk. Got a game tonight, game 5 between the Braves and the Dodgers. It'll be a real shame if the Dodgers somehow lose tonight. Max Fried going against Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly was announced a starter earlier this afternoon. If you've got any comments, drop them in the comment section there, and I'll get to them, pop them up on the screen. But we'll start with little Braves-Dodgers. The Braves arguably probably could have swept the series by now. They let one get away from them in Game 3, but they responded very nicely, I thought, yesterday in Game 4. Obviously, when you're up 9-2 there late, Eddie Rosario, just about as clutch as it gets with 2 home runs yesterday. Darn near hit for the cycle. Doesn't get much better than that for him. So that was a big-time performance from the Braves. And if they somehow happen to lose tonight, obviously I think it's going to be a lot of help from the bullpen tonight for the Dodgers. So obviously with Joe Kelly starting, I think the last time Joe Kelly started a game was in the World Series in 2013, at least the postseason game he started was the World Series of 2013 when he was with the St. Louis Cardinals. They won that game that Joe Kelly pitched. So shout out to him. But again, tonight, Max Fried comes in with an ERA of 3. Joe Kelly does not have an ERA. We did learn that Justin Turner is out for the rest of the postseason with a hamstring issue. He was carried off the field or had to be helped off the field, I think, last night in that game. So no Justin Turner. We'll go through the lineups here. Eddie Rosario hitting first and left. Ozzie Albies at second, hitting second. Hitting third at first base, Freddie Freeman, followed by Austin Riley, then Adam Duvall, Jock Peterson, Dansby Swanson, Travis d'Arnaud, and Max Fried. For the Dodgers, it's going to look pretty similar besides, obviously, no Justin Turner. Mookie Betts leading off in right field. Trey Turner at second base. Corey Seager at shortstop batting third, followed by Will Smith behind the plate. A.J. Pollock in left field. Albert Pujols is playing first base tonight. Chris Taylor in at third base. Cody Bellinger batting eighth in center field. And the pitcher on the mound, Joe Kelly. So, again, if you've got any comments, drop them in the comment section here. It's the postseason. I think right now it's a big must-win game for the Braves tonight. Obviously, you don't want to go back home if you don't have to. Last year, I believe they blew a 3-1 lead, right? I'm pretty sure they did. Blew a 3-1 lead in Texas against the Dodgers. The Dodgers went on to win the World Series, obviously. And the last thing that we all want to see right now is a Dodgers-Astros World Series. That's the last thing that we want to see. And Houston is they look to be in control right now. I tweeted out last night if Boston was officially dead, and our good friend Tanner Kern says, no, they are not dead. Nathan Eovaldi will start tomorrow. But it's a big game in Houston. Game 6 needed to go to Game 7. Not saying it can't be done, but against a Houston team that doesn't have a lot of pitching right now, so you never know what could happen there. But if Eovaldi gets the win tomorrow and the Red Sox get the win, Game 7 is going to be complete chaos and mayhem, and I can already tell you that. So look out for the Astros to somehow get out of there. And Lance McCullers today was pretty well unofficially announced that he will be out for the rest of the year. So that's a big blow for the Astros if they're going to continue past this. But again, a matchup that no one wants to see. Dodgers, Astros, the Trastros. No one wants to see that. last night we did have a little incident in Boston last night. There was a light going off in center field, and I think some people thought maybe the Red Sox were trying to cheat. I don't know. But it later came out that there is a bar behind the fence in center field, and so I'm sure it was just either someone taking pictures or someone with a flashlight or on their phone or something. But they did create a little bit of conversation on the broadcast, and they even highlighted it on Fox yesterday. So that was kind of interesting. But that game yesterday was all Houston. Red Sox just got in trouble with pitching, and Houston was able to get away with that one. Houston got 2 big wins in Boston, especially after game 1 when they hit a grand slam again. That's really tough to come back and rally your team to get 2 tough road wins, especially with a game where they didn't have quite their best pitching. Zach Greinke went, I believe, in the game on Tuesday night. Yeah, Tuesday night. And they had like 5 pitchers through 7 innings, and they gave up a ton of walks. So not pretty. But the Houston Astros, they're up 3-2. Game 6 tomorrow. So again, tonight though, at 7:08 first pitch, Braves trying to end the Dodgers season. The 88-win Braves trying to end the 106-win Dodgers. And what's really happened with this Dodgers team? Why is it just they're not able to put it together in the postseason? I mean, they struggled against the Cardinals in the wild card game, thanks to Alex Reyes hanging a curveball for Chris Taylor. Cardinals arguably should have won that game. We had 13 runners in scoring position and couldn't bring a single guy in. If we bring one guy in, that game is far, far over. And the Cardinals are playing the Giants and whatnot. The Dodgers battled well against the Giants, but I thought the Giants were kind of overrated. Their lineup wasn't too stellar. Their pitching staff wasn't anything to write home about. They just won ball games, and you can't take away a team that wins ball games. But at the end of the day, on paper, I didn't think they were that good. And it's my personal opinion, but the Dodgers just they struggle. They can't avoid the big inning right now. And you look at game 3 where they really let it get away from them. And granted, they were able to make the comeback late with a 3-run home run from Cody Bellinger. It's not been pretty for the Dodgers, and the injuries are starting to fall a little bit. Obviously, losing Max Muncy before the postseason, you lose Justin Turner last night. But Mookie Betts has obviously been one of the hottest hitters right now in the postseason, maybe right in front of Kike Hernandez. He's been impressive. I'm hoping for a Braves and Red Sox World Series. I'm rooting for the Red Sox for our boy Tanner Kern. And because who wants to watch the Astros? No one. I think the Braves will get it done tonight. With Mac Fried on the mound, I like their chances. Joe Kelly's a good pitcher, but it's going to be a long 9 innings if they've got to go to the bullpen. So we'll see. We'll see, though. Again, first pitch, 7:08 tonight on TBS. Dodgers are favored, only because Vegas really likes the Dodgers, but I like the chances tonight for the Braves to go to the World Series. So from there, let's move on to the NBA. The NBA has started. The Lakers, my Lakers. Oh, wrong. There we go. My Lakers. We have played pretty poorly in that first game against the Warriors, which I thought the Warriors might be overhyped a little bit. I'm like, how do we go from a terrible team in the NBA to now a top 5 team all of a sudden again? And I don't think the Lakers are all that they're cracked up to be. Everyone calls them the retirement home Lakers, the AARP Lakers, whatever you want to call it, whatever old joke you want to throw in there. We are old, and Russell Westbrook could not have played a worse game in game 1. I feel that LeBron, he's great, but he's an absolute detriment to the team at times. You look at Kent Bazemore was easily one of the most, the bright spots from that game the other night. They have too many untimely forced errors and turnovers. I mean, there was twice late. LeBron tries to chuck up a three after they hit one. He misses. They go down. They score. LeBron tries to come down, dribbles it off his leg, goes out of bounds. Another turnover. They go back down and they score. And it's just little things like that where LeBron tries to do too much and it hurts this team more than it helps. And I think right now, LeBron is hurting this team more than he helps, in my opinion. You're always going to have a chance to win when you have LeBron. It is what it is. The NBA is rigged. I know it. We all know it. Okay, we all know the NBA is darn near rigged. And you look at a team with LeBron, a younger Anthony Davis who's supposed to be in his prime, a past his prime Russell Westbrook ball hog, Mr. Pad the Stats triple double. I'm not a Westbrook fan. I'm gonna put it out there. You try to bring in Carmelo Anthony. They brought in some great role players with Dwight Howard. You've got DeAndre Jordan in the starting lineup. Obviously, the injuries to Nunn, to THT, those don't help. But, I don't know about this Lakers team, really. I mean, the people, like to make the AARP Lakers jokes, but, I mean, they're kind of true. I mean, they are an old team. So, it's really unfortunate right now, but it's game 1 of 82. We'll see what happens. It's a long season, but the Western Conference is good. Lakers barely made it in last year. They had the play-in game and whatnot. So, we'll see. At least we're not, like the, I think Hunter's here. Hunter, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine now.
Beautiful. Well, we'll recap here. I went through the MLB, talked about tonight's game. The Braves, Dodgers, go Braves. We both hate the Dodgers. That's at least one thing we can agree on. For those of you that don't know, this is Hunter. He's my good friend. We disagree on about everything in sports besides a few things. But Hunter, why don't you introduce yourself?
All right. Well, I played golf with you for 4 years in high school. I go to school here in Nebraska, and that's fun at times, and other times it's not, just like Nebraska football. But you like the Ravens, I like the Steelers, I like the Cubs, you like the Cardinals, you like the Blues, I like the Blackhawks, and we both have 2 different Big Ten teams, so we don't really agree on much when it comes to sports, but we do talk a lot of sports when we're together.
It is about as exact opposite as you can get, but it does bring a lot of great conversations. But the one thing that I think a lot of people can agree on is we don't like the Dodgers and we don't like the Astros.
Yeah,
so
don't like cheaters.
Tonight, we need a win from the Braves, and we also need a win from the Red Sox tomorrow. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'll get it from the Braves tonight. I mean, the Joe Kelly probably going to go like 1 or 2 innings, playing that opening role. And I mean, the Braves lineup is just scary right now. They don't really have an out outside the pitcher. It's like you don't have a definite out in that lineup anymore.
I mean, Jock Peterson's hitting 6, and he's arguably one of the hotter hitters on that team. Obviously, Eddie Rosario had himself a game yesterday, darn near hitting for the cycle. What are you looking for in tonight's game?
I mean, if you are a Dodger, I think you need to see more. You just see more offense. It's hard to come by losing, Max Muncy and Justin Turner, but you got to get offense. You got to get it early. Max Fried is such a good pitcher. Like if he settles in, if he settles in and goes 7 innings strong, that Braves lineup's not going to score less than 4 runs like a game. So it's like you gotta if you're the Dodgers, you gotta start early, like the Braves did last night with the back-to-back home runs. But I mean, if you're the Braves, just don't change a single thing you're doing because it's working.
What is it you think with this Dodgers team that's just been struggling a little bit in the playoffs? Obviously, I think they played better than the Giants in the DS, but I didn't think the Giants were all that, cracked up as they were be. It seemed that they struggled against the Cardinals, and now they're struggling a little bit against the Braves besides the 3-run home run from Bellinger.
Yeah, I just think I don't know. I just think they got lucky against the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals, that game was ridiculous. I was sitting here in this room rooting my whole heart against them like it was a Cup playoff game. My heart was racing. Like I was probably the only time I rooted for the Dodgers in my life. But I just and then they just played the Giants who they're used to playing. They played them tight all year, so it's like they got kind of lucky with who they played. I think, but I think it's just they just don't really have anybody else outside of Mookie Betts that's really hitting the ball that well. You just don't really have that consistent lineup that you're used to with the Dodgers lately. It's like I'm looking right now. You only really have Rangers hitting 300, and you got in this series, and Chris Taylor's batting 417, but you don't have anybody else above 250 outside of Mookie Betts. So it's like you're not really looking at much offensive output out there. So it's like when you don't have offense, you're going against this Braves team. It's like you're not gonna win many games.
Got our guy Sosa here saying, let's go Sixers. Hunter, a big Sixers fan. I know Sosa's a big viewer here on the Sports 2.0 network. I see him on Tanner's shows all the time. Yankees in 7. Yankees can't win in 1. So how are they going to win in 7? So that's tough. But, Sosa, thank you for the comment there. Hunter, your allegiance with the Sixers. How is that right now?
I mean, as a team, I love the team because Ben Simmons doesn't seem to be a part of it. So I'm just fine. I mean, if he wants to sit there, just sit and pout, I mean, we're fine with just not paying him because I think the NBA is going to be on our side with that. Like, you can't sign a max contract and then the next year because the fans hate you that you just can't play. So it's just like, I mean, the NBA is going to be on our side. I think this team is good enough. I mean, good enough to definitely make the playoffs. I think Embiid's always. I think he's established himself as an MVP type player last year if he could stay on the court. They got enough shooters to make some noise in the playoffs if they get there. It's just we don't. Whenever this Ben Simmons saga ends, and hopefully it ends with him in a different jersey, I think it's going to be just a huge weight off of the whole team's shoulders for sure.
So there's a couple things I want to get to with the Sixers. Obviously, with Ben Simmons and everything going on right now, people say New York is tough. But I don't think there is a tougher place to play than Philadelphia. I mean, you look at the Eagles. They were bad for how long? You get booed off your field almost every game. They win the Super Bowl. Everyone thinks they're great, and now they suck again. You look at the Phillies. Besides their 2008 when they won the World Series, they were somewhat relevant in 2011 and lost to my Cardinals, and they've not been really relevant since then. And you got the 76ers who've been there, trust the process, but the process can't get you to the NBA Finals. Philly is a tough place to play.
I think was it Jason Kelsey? Did you hear what he had to say? I think it's the first time I've ever seen a different sports athlete talk about he talked about Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I did see that.
It's the first time I think I've seen like a football player talk about a basketball player in the same city. Like can't think of the last time I've seen that happen. But he said it's like if you put in the effort, then the city's gonna love you. And so it's like basketball is such like an individualistic type of sport, unlike baseball and unlike football. So it's like if you show the effort and you show that you want to win and you show you're willing to do stuff, like, shoot a layup in a game 7, wide open layup in game 7 instead of passing into the corner for a 3. And I mean, it's just like for a basketball player, one of the most important things you got to be able to be an offensive threat at some point. And Ben Simmons is just not, and that's just the fact now. It's like I don't know how long he's been on this team. It feels like 4 or 5 years, I think, is around the number. It's like Philly has been behind him for 4 years in like 87 games. And then all of a sudden, when you don't shoot a layup, when you're wide open, that's when they all just turn on him because it's like, dude, you are a 6'8" monster. You're supposed to be the next LeBron James. You can't shoot a layup in a game 7. Then what are we paying you all this money for?
I don't know if he was supposed to be the next LeBron James. I thought this guy in college I was like, man, he's really going after his freshman year. He was always kind of that lazy-ish player. But
I think he was talked as like that. It's like it was like him and Zion. Like him and Zion had similar hypes. I think Zion had a bigger one because he went to Duke, but Ben Simmons was the surefire number one pick out of that draft. Like if anybody else would have went number one in that draft, I think it would have been a shocker to most. So I think he was talked as the next LeBron, but I mean he just can't shoot the ball, so it's like you can't be LeBron if you're not going to do that.
So are you familiar with the? I heard this today. Are you familiar with the Trillion Club or Club Trillion?
I am not. You can enlighten me on that.
Yeah. So I heard this today on Jim Matson's show. I was like, this is awesome because I related to this. So the Trillion Club is basically like when you're a guy that gets in the game at the late, with like a minute left, you basically play a minute and you have no points, no rebounds, no assists, you literally do nothing. And when you look at it in the stat book, it makes the trillion number. Mm-hmm. So Danny Green last night achieved arguably one of the greatest club trillion achievements, but he made it 19 trillion last night. Played 19 minutes with no points, no assists, no steals, no blocks, nothing. Played 19 minutes of worthless basketball. That is the Danny Green that I know. And boy, am I glad he's not on my team anymore.
I mean, I've dealt with it for 1 year. I'm already tired of it. For some reason, it was last year against the Hawks. He went down, I believe, in the middle of the series, and all of a sudden the Sixers forgot how to play basketball. So they win when he's on the floor, but when he's on the floor, he does next to nothing. Like I looked at his stat line, and he shot the ball one time. So it's like, I mean, at least we're not wasting possessions. If he's only shooting the ball one time, you're not really wasting that possession. He did foul 3 times, so there's one stat that he had multiple of, but I mean, Danny Green.
You remember in the bubble when they were allowed to have like something other than their last name on the back of their jersey?
Yeah.
Danny Green probably picked arguably the worst thing ever for social media because Danny Green had the how many more on the back of his jersey, and that was where he just kept tossing bricks. And so people are asking how many more bricks are you? I mean, that man was ridiculed on social media. So say here, my favorite player was Simmons, wanted to defend Simmons after the Atlanta series. There was a point he did everything he shouldn't have to do. Very explosive player, but I really don't think Philly fans are going to accept him back. I mean, it's about as bad as you can get, right? He's pulling a Jimmy Butler in Minnesota. Let's be honest.
He's pulling. I think he's pulling more like James Harden because I think he said he had back tightness today, and they didn't even have a team practice. All he had to do was go and work out, just go lift weights. That's all he had to do was go lift weights, and he couldn't even do that. He couldn't go lift weights for free. So I mean, I don't know. I feel I would say if he decided to come back and he decided to play, which I think he should. I think he should come play because he's a really good basketball player. And the last thing in people's minds cannot be what happened in the playoffs. Really, that cannot be the last thing in the mind because they're not going to trade for him. But if you come out and show that you're capable of putting up, 25 and seven assists and 8 boards, and then people are like, all right, we can put him and he could be the third best guy on this team. He could be the second best guy on this team, and we can actually have a chance. But if you put the last image in the minds of GMs of you're standing underneath the basket, wide open, and it was I think it was a 1 or 2 point game to either tie it, and the Sixers were going on a run in the fourth quarter of Game 7, and you don't shoot and you pass it away. Like that cannot be the last image that GMs and coaches have because they're not going to want that guy on their team because if he can't be on the floor late in the game, there's no use trading away what the Sixers even close to want for him.
Right. Well, and luckily they found a way to win the other night, so they're 1-0. I like what Joel Embiid actually kind of said about Simmons. Is basically like, let's forget about him. Like I'm just very focused on this team. Like that was great from Embiid, and I liked that. My Lakers, that they sucked in Game 1. It's Game 1 of 82. We got time to turn it around, but we play Phoenix tomorrow night. That's not going to be fun. Team that bounced you from the playoffs last year. I don't know what it is with the AARP Lakers this year.
I don't know either. I don't know. I think they're good. They're gonna be a very streaky team when it comes to games. Like there's gonna be look really really good because I mean they have those big names that are gonna like remember how to play basketball, and then you're gonna have those stretches of games where they're gonna lose about 4 out of 5, or they're gonna lose like 7 out of 12 or something like that. And because it's like because when LeBron has an off night, he's going to turn the ball over, and when the Westbrook has an off night, he's going to turn the ball over. So it's like when you're going to have those games where they're going to have like 20 turnovers, feels like, and the other team's going to have about 10 to 15 extra possessions, and you're I mean no matter how good of a team you are on defense, you can't come back from that.
Well, we got to get on to our segment here. We got 2 segments. The first one I want to get to, Colten's Top 10. And I've got even better music this week, so let's roll it. This week on Colten's Top 10 8.0. Leading off at number 10, you have the Cincinnati Bengals at 4-2. You know, I really think that they're overhyped a little bit. They haven't played a lot of good teams. They lost a heartbreaker to Green Bay, but they are second in the AFC North standings. They could be a little bit of dangerous. We'll see this week against my Baltimore Ravens. At number 9, the Tennessee Titans. Big win on Monday night for the Titans. Big one. Now, the Titans probably could have kicked the field goal, could have gone to overtime and beat them, but they know that they've got their division wrapped up. They don't care. They wanted the win, but the Tennessee defense stood strong. They're at number 8 this week. At number 9, At number 8, the Los Angeles Chargers. They got their butt whooped last week. Oh, man, did the Ravens put it on them. It will be interesting to see how they respond this week. Their offense has a lot of firepower. Their defense is not bad, but they've got to respond well after this last week. So we'll see how they respond. At number 7, the Green Bay Packers. I still think Green Bay is overhyped. They play a terrible division. They barely beat the terrible Bears, the incompetent Bears. Green Bay will not make it to the NFC Championship. I'll tell you that right now, but they're at number 7 this week. At number 6, I've got the Tampa Bay Brady's. That's all about they are, is Tom Brady. They play in a bad division. Again, Carolina looked to be somewhat good this year. They've lost 3 in a row. They're now at 3-3. Not looking good. But it's still Tom Brady. You don't want to bet against him. But it's going to depend on their running game. If Lombardi-Lenny can get it going, if Brady's going to do his thing, I still like their chances in the NFC Championship. At number 5, my Baltimore Ravens. They dropped a little bit. Now, the problem here is I don't know what it is. It's my own team, but I don't want to overhype them a little bit. I don't want to put them too far up there, so we're going to put them right in the middle because we've won some games we probably shouldn't have. It reminds me of the Steelers last year. The Steelers probably won some games they shouldn't have when they were like 11-1 and everyone thought they were godsend. The Ravens this year probably have won some games that they shouldn't have. But that's why you play the game. Ravens at number 5 this week. At number 4, the Dallas Cowboys. Arguably the best offense in the NFC. The defense, do not throw it to Diggs. Do not throw it to Diggs. He will pick it off and he will return it. Just act Max Jones. So, Dallas, they've got the defense. They can get turnovers, but they give up the most passing yards. It'll be interesting to see what Dallas does going forward. They've got a bye this week. At number 3, the Los Angeles Rams. They got arguably one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have a very talented offense. I don't know how much better they are with Matt Stafford. They're better than with Jared Goff, but will it be enough with a somewhat okay running game? We'll see when it comes down to the end. At number 2, the Buffalo Bills. I still think, even with the loss on Monday night, that they are the second best team. Josh Allen is phenomenal. He will lay out. He will do anything that you want. That run game, that defense, it's there. They found a little bit of trouble against Derrick Henry, but who hasn't had trouble against Derrick Henry? So they're at number 2. And until they lose, at number 1, the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray. He is phenomenal. Phenomenal. That defense, Chandler Jones, they are hot right now. DeAndre Hopkins, throw him the ball. Christian Kirk, throw him the ball. Cardinals, sleeper pick for the Super Bowl. Watch it happen. That rounds out Colten's Top 10 8.0. We like to go hard here on the Sports 2.0 network. We like to bring in the music. We like to bring in the little banner here. We go all out.
I mean, I don't know about your homer picks of the Cowboys and the Baltimore Ravens, how long that's going to last, but I'll let you keep your moment in the sun for right now.
I do think that Dallas does have the best offense. I mean, Dak is playing at an unbelievable level right now. I mean, he's got weapon after weapon that he can throw to. Zeke looks to be somewhat like maybe rookie year Zeke, a little sophomore year Zeke when he was running the ball all over. That offensive line looks a lot better. But the defense, I leave question marks. They're getting lucky right now with the with all the turnovers. Turner just texted me. He must be tuning in. No Chiefs? Question mark. No Chiefs.
No,
Chiefs are overrated.
They're so bad right now.
Their defense could not guard my couch right now. They're that bad. Their offensive line. What I want to say is probably not good, so I'm just going to leave it. But their offensive line is not good. That offense is not making plays like they normally do. But it's still Patrick Mahomes. It's still Andy Reid. They've got time to figure it out. But again, like the Colts secondary, the Chiefs could not guard my couch right now. That is my thought on the Chiefs.
People are going to keep on saying the Chiefs because of who they have at quarterback. But I mean, if the defense is just so bad, like if you have two still pictures of your quarterback just going like this, staring at the other end zone as another guy's just wide open in the same game, that just proves that how bad their defense is. But they do still have Patrick Mahomes, so they could easily put up 45 a game just because of how good that offense can be. But they have not proven to me they could be a good team yet.
But back to the Cowboys, their offense is good. Their defense brings question marks as long as you don't throw it to Diggs. I mean, Diggs, he does have the most interceptions, but he's on pace to give up the most yards in the NFL this year. So it's kind of a double-edged sword that you got to fight. But I do like the Cowboys. But, it would not surprise me to see a Cardinals-Cowboys NFC championship. I think the NFC is going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out because I feel your top two teams in the AFC, you've got Buffalo and Baltimore. I mean, right now?
I would say the Buffalo for sure. I think it's like it goes Buffalo's one, and then you got then you have it's like space bar, and then at the moment, I mean, I think you have to say the Ravens because I think they beat what my second best team in the AFC would have been the Chargers. They just murdered them. So I don't really know who else you would put there. I don't like saying that the Ravens are the second best team in the AFC, but I think at the moment they winning games you're not supposed to that's a good thing. And I just think they have so many hurt players. I think it catch them in the end about how many hurt players they have would be my only thing. And the AFC North, I think it's arguably the best. It's arguably the best division in the AFC. I think it rivals the NFC West for the best division in football. I think for sure because I don't think there's no easy out in that entire division. I think the Steelers are going to should be in every game they play just because how good that defense can be creating turnovers. And then the Bengals can just score points, and then the Browns, I don't know. Well, I think we'll see tonight what they're made of, even though they have about half their offense out. I think
Minnesota Miracle, Case Keenum, baby.
I know. I think the AFC North is the best division in the AFC for sure. So that's one reason why I think the Ravens might fall later, not because they're a bad team. I just think because that division is just so good that I don't think you're going to see I don't think you're going to see a team run away with it.
It's about that time. We're going to get ready for our closing segment, the Pigskin Pick'em. Hunter could be added to the leaderboard this week. I believe it's still Tanner up there that reigns the top spot. Sosa, the Minnesota Miracle. You've never heard of the Minnesota Miracle? Have you been living under a rock? Case Keenum to Diggs down the sideline?
That happened like what, 3 or 4 years ago?
Is that the XFL? No, this is not the St. Louis Battlehawks.
That happened in the playoffs too. That was a wild card game. Like that game was over how do you? I feel like that's not real. Like you have to know what that is.
Yeah, it's got to be sarcasm that I'm not picking up on, but we'll get to the pigskin pick'em segment here. Not a great weekend for football, really. I mean, not a lot of great games. You look around the NFL, it's not great matchups. College, for whatever reason, I'm not into college football this year.
Doesn't help when your team's not the great. It doesn't help when your team's best win is against Nebraska. That doesn't help. That does not help.
Hey, we beat Charlotte. Come on now. But I do have a few games. We'll start with number 2, the new number 2 team, Cincinnati at Navy. I did not know Navy was terrible until I look at their record. Navy 1-5 this year. I'll take the Bearcats.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that's an easy pick. I think the Bearcats probably will win by about 45 or something like that.
Wisconsin at Purdue. Purdue, I didn't know how to feel about them. Their offense is they've had some quarterback trouble. Their defense is solid. Wisconsin, I think they're a little overrated. Graham Mertz is not that good. Wisconsin has a running game. Their defense is going to be solid. This is going to be, I think, a low-scoring game, and it's going to be a slow, painful, boring game if you decide to watch this. But I'll go with Purdue.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same boat with you with that. Wisconsin's in a free fall right now, I think, and Purdue. Only reason I would maybe pick against Purdue is just because they're coming off that big win. They might come out a little sluggish, but I think Purdue probably wins that game too.
In my opinion, arguably the game of the week in college football. Number 8, Oklahoma State. They've flown under the radar all year. I thought they were going to lose last week. They didn't. And now they get a chance this week with Iowa State. But Iowa State, since their first loss to Iowa, they lost to Baylor in a heartbreaker. But they're 5-2, I believe. Iowa State 6-2, something like that. They have arguably one of the better offenses with Brock Purdy in the Big 12. I like Iowa State in this matchup. I'm going to go with the upset.
I'm going to go Oklahoma State. I think they're flying under the radar, and I think this is going to be kind of a statement game. I think if we got a couple more weeks, they play an Oklahoma or a Texas, but I think they play Texas next week, actually. But yeah, I think Oklahoma State's going to pull this one out. Iowa State, I don't know, nothing great about them. They came with so much hype, and I don't know. I like Oklahoma State in that game.
Looking at LSU at Ole Miss. LSU, a team that struggled. They will be without a coach after this year. They'll be looking for one after Ed Orgeron is out. Quite the story with Coach O in that one. Oh, boy. Quite the story. Ole Miss, they were involved in that crazy one last week with all those crazy fans up in Tennessee. I'll take Ole Miss this week.
I heard something today. I think Coach O might be the greatest interim coach of all time. He was the interim coach at USC. He went 6-2. He was the interim coach at LSU. Went 6-2. Right now, he's technically the interim coach because they're looking for a new guy at the end of this offseason. But I'm going to go with Ole Miss. I think that offense is just too good, and the LSU defense is just too bad. I think Ole Miss runs away with that one.
Ole Miss quarterback could be the next one in Pittsburgh. We'll see.
Hey, he could sit behind Aaron Rodgers next year. Just let's cool that one down right there. But hey, if we want to pick him, I mean, that's not a bad future right there.
Ohio State at Indiana. Indiana had high expectations coming into the year. They failed miserably. Ohio State really doesn't have a good win on the schedule this year, but I think they get the win this week. I like the Buckeyes.
I think we just as a college football fans, I think we buried Ohio State way too quickly. That offense, the defense is still pretty bad, but that offense is.
CJ Stroud. People did not like him. I don't know why he's not in conversation for the Heisman, but he should be.
I think when Ohio State goes out and beats the Penn States, the Michigan States, and the Michigans of the world, he will be. I think he's one guy that we're not talking about because I think that the early week games stay in your head for a little bit until they prove themselves that they're not like that anymore. But I think Ohio State's still the best team in that division in the conference. So I think Ohio State runs away with that one.
I'm trying to figure out where Sosa's fandom lies. He's got a Yankees. He likes the Saints. He looks like the Buckeyes. Everybody hates the Buckeyes, but I'm picking them this week. I He's all over the place. He's all over the place. Next game, we'll move to the NFL. Chiefs at Titans. I think the Titans riding the high. Big win last week. I think they finally found the offense is finding their way. I'm going with the Titans this week.
I think this is going to be a lot like the Buffalo game we just watched, where there's a whole lot of offense and not a lot of defense. And I think Derrick Henry probably runs for 300 yards, but he's going to need about 350. And I think the Chiefs end up winning this game because that offense is too good not to keep on. Then that's too good to keep on losing.
Now, I didn't want to put this game on my schedule, on my docket, but I felt like I had to because it's probably the best matchup we'll see this week. Bengals at Ravens. Ravens with like their 7th home game already in 6 weeks. Turner says Titans secondary is brutal and Mahomes will throw for 400. I mean, again, both defenses are terrible. We'll see if Mahomes is able to connect on some of those longer shots that he hasn't this year. That'll be a good game to watch. But Baltimore hosting the Bengals. Actually, no. Ravens at Bengals, I believe. I don't know. Ravens and Bengals, that's all that matters. I'm going with my Ravens.
Can I pick a tie? I don't want either one of these teams to win. I mean,
you could. Ties do happen in football.
This is true. I'm never going to pick the Ravens unless I mathematically need them to win for the Steelers to make the playoffs. I'm just going to pick the Bengals because I hate them less than I hate the Ravens.
Of course you would. Bears at Buccaneers. The Bears are terrible. Tom Brady's going to tear up this defense. Now, the Bears did beat, I believe, the Buccaneers last year in Chicago. Mm-hmm. I think Brady gets redemption this year, and the Bears, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's Bucs all day long. I don't see how the Bears score more than 17 points in that game.
We do have we both took the Tampa Brady's. Now we get the Colts, arguably one of the worst games of the year on Sunday Night Football, a game that probably looked a lot better at the beginning of the year. Colts at 49ers. I don't like either team. Yeah, I mean, both are the offenses and defenses are all over the place, but I'll go with the Colts. Just a shot in the dark.
See, I think the Colts are. I don't know what to make of them. I think they're good. Like, I don't think I think Carson Wentz hasn't been terrible this year. They just don't win many games. I don't think they have many weapons. I mean, they should have beat the Ravens. They shouldn't. There's no way the Ravens should have won that game on Monday night a couple weeks ago. I really badly want the Colts to win, but I'll pick the 49ers just because I think they're just the better team. And they're at home.
Saints at Seahawks. Seahawks almost pulled off the upset against your Steelers last week. I don't think this one's going to be close. I'll take the Saints.
Yeah, I don't. The Seahawks aren't good. The Steelers aren't that great. So I don't think that's like a good litmus test. I mean, I would probably say, as a former Florida State fan, I love Jameis Winston. So I think Jameis Winston's going to throw probably about 450 yards this game because the Seahawks secondary is just terrible. I mean, if your best safety can't catch a ball that hits him in the head, I don't know what else to say about that secondary. I think the Saints probably win that game too.
We'll need freshman year Jameis. And tonight's game kicking off here in about 1 minute. Broncos at Browns. The injury game. Browns are without, I believe, both running backs. They're without Baker. I like the Broncos in this one. The Browns just have too many injuries.
And much like the Ravens, I'm not gonna pick the Cleveland Clowns if I don't have to. So I'm gonna pick the Broncos to win. I mean, they don't have their tackle, they don't have Chubb, they don't have Hunt, and they don't have Baker. That means they're probably not gonna have much offense. So I'm gonna go the Broncos to beat the Clowns tonight.
Tonight, again, kicking off now on NFL Network. Are we on Fox tonight? We are on both Fox and NFL Network. Tune in tonight for Denver at Cleveland kicking off. Actually, no, we got 5 minutes. We're clear. We're clear on that. So you still have 5 minutes before that game. But that'll do it for us here tonight on the Colten Kahler Show. He's Hunter Lucas. I'm Colten Kahler. We'll see you next week on the Colten Kahler Show here on the Sports 2.0 Network. We'll see ya.